If you've ever been to a ski resort before, you'll know that the hardest runs aren't just as simple as strapping on a piece of equipment and going. Expert-only terrain, typically denoted by a double black diamond marking in North America and most parts of the southern hemisphere, is steep, scary, and potentially lethal, and if you try to tackle it without the right kind of prep, you might end up like this. But if you're able to ski or ride this expert-level terrain, you'll have conquered the overwhelming majority of what there is to tackle at most ski resorts. So how does one properly prepare for the hardest runs on the mountain? And are there effective ways to build up your confidence even if you're not on the slopes? Well, in this video, we'll go through the fundamental technical skills you'll want to master to hit a double black diamond, the physical routines you'll want to get into, and the mental mindset to put you in the best possible headspace. Let's jump right in and help you unleash your inner terrain boss. So the first thing we need to answer is, what is an expert level ski run? Well, double black diamond trails somewhat vary in difficulty depending on which ski resort you go to, but they are almost universally the most difficult trails on the specific mountain they're employed. Since ski resorts vary widely in size and terrain, their ratings reflect these differences, and double black diamond ratings are not uniform across locations. These runs can range from steep but relatively forgiving slopes at smaller local hills to truly extreme, no margin for error lines at major destination mountains. Double blacks and other expert-only runs can contain cliffs, moguls, and other obstacles, as well as pitches that would cause you to tumble uncontrollably with just a single slip-up. So the next question you might be asking is, are double black diamond runs universally the hardest terrain ratings at ski resorts, at least in the countries they're used? Well, not exactly. At a handful of locations, such as Big Sky, Montana, Smuggler's Notch, Vermont, and Mont Sutton, Quebec, you might notice trail ratings that go all the way up to the notorious triple black diamond rating. In many parts of Colorado, double black is still the symbol used to mark all expert terrain, but trails that have some especially technical features are denoted by an EX symbol within the diamonds to signify extreme terrain. Whether an EX double black or a triple black diamond run, these trails are among the most difficult in their regions, and at the resorts that use them, these markings denote trails that have even higher consequence terrain than typical double blacks. The key difference between a regular double black and one of these ratings often lies in the level of exposure, where a slip-up could result in severe injury or worse. However, not all resorts use markings above double black, and many of the resorts that top out at the double black rating, which is most of them, have terrain that is just as hard or even harder than the triple blacks or extreme terrain trails we just mentioned. In that vein, this video will touch on the techniques that you'll need to handle terrain not just at the double black level, but at any specialty rating that might be in bounds at a ski resort. So now that you know what constitutes a double black diamond trail and what it entails, what about tackling the runs themselves? Well, short of getting a personalized lesson, which we would highly recommend, the first alpine skill you may want to know to hit the double blacks is how to side slip down the mountain. Now, this is not a pretty way to get down, and it is not by any stretch of the imagination the technically optimal way to complete a ski run. But knowing how to side slip is critical for when you find yourself in a situation where you just want to get down safely and you're not comfortable skiing or riding in any other way. To complete a side slip, position your skis or board horizontally across the hill. Release your edges softly to start slipping sideways and re-engage them to stop. Practicing these side slips on less steep terrain is a great and effective way to get some experience in. Similar to side slipping, hockey stops and advanced turning are crucial skills to build before you enter expert level terrain. Both of these rely on the amount of pressure you put on your outside edge. To complete a hockey stop on skis, you'll want to suddenly turn sideways and engage your edges while stomping on your outside ski. If you're a snowboarder, you'll probably already know how to do both heel and toe edge stops if you get to this level, but they're still important nonetheless. No matter whether you ski or snowboard, the more pressure you put, the faster you will stop, short of wiping out. If you have the space, another way to slow down is by making bigger and more horizontal turns on your way down the mountain, rather than focusing on stopping altogether. As one becomes a more advanced skier, they need to pay attention to their weight positioning when skiing. If someone leans too far forward or too far back, it can make turning difficult. A good rule of thumb is to keep your feet directly under you with some of your weight forward so that your shin is comfortably pressed up against the tongue of the boot. Weight positioning for snowboarders is a bit different than skiing when it comes to steep terrain. When riding on a hardpack or a steep groomer, your weight should be a little forward and have a solid edge control on both your toes and heels. If you are in powdered terrain, you'll want to slightly lean on your back foot. This will make it easier to turn through the snow while maintaining a balanced position over your board. When going down, turn down the mountain with skinnier S-turns so you maintain your speed throughout the run. Another crucial skill to have when you're tackling expert terrain on a snowboard, knowing how to ride switch foot or in a reverse stance. On top of being a fundamental skill to allow you flexibility on any slope, when it comes to expert terrain, it specifically gives you more turning opportunities and can really get you out of tight spaces. At almost every ski resort, you will encounter runs that have moguls. Depending on the inclination of the slope or the size of the moguls, they can bring different challenges. These sections of bumps can last for hundreds or even thousands of feet in the craziest circumstances. There are multiple ways to ski or ride these bumps. When starting out, the most common way is to avoid the bumps themselves and follow the mini gullies formed in between them. To control your speed, you can brake on top of them and then turn. This is a good strategy for larger moguls you don't want to go over. For medium to smaller sized moguls, you might be able to absorb the bumps in your knees and go directly over them, but this may not be the best idea if you have knee issues. The most proficient mogul skiers and riders often use both techniques when going down a line. If you're able to switch between techniques on the fly, then you should be in good shape for double black diamond mogul runs. Understanding the fundamentals of mogul terrain is also important to another common expert level challenge, tree skiing. On steep glade terrain, bumps will often form within the woods, but unlike an open terrain area, the bumps will have rock solid trees in the middle of them. This makes having your ability to pick out and control your line incredibly important. You'll want to look for natural gaps between trees, escape routes or areas to slow down, and obstacles like cliffs, stumps, and fallen branches. Once you've scouted everything out from above, you'll want to pick a line that balances speed and control. Especially if you're unfamiliar with this type of terrain, you're going to want to look for a line that zigzags across the slope rather than shooting straight down. Finally, there are a few types of specialized expert level trails that we want to highlight specific types of technical skills for. Mandatory cliffs present a significant challenge and are commonly found at major destination resorts. These lines are often narrow, with minimal or no room for error. The height of the drop and the approach can greatly impact the difficulty and the outcome. One option might be to practice smaller jumps in terrain parks with a specific focus on improving your landing technique. On runs where mandatory air is required, spotting your landing early and using your legs to absorb the impact effectively is a critical skill. If you're feeling especially crazy, some ski resorts have trails that are so high consequence that the only way to go down them is just to send them straight without turning. These mandatory straight lines can be very scary to attempt, and some can lead into cliffs or trees if you're not careful. When tackling runs like this, the most important part might be to stay forward in an athletic stance. At higher speeds, skis and snowboards can become unstable, so knowing how to control your speed and stop is critical. While this is near impossible within the straight line itself, you can control your speed by turning or slipping immediately after it ends. While runs like this can be scary, the most important factor in straight lining is full-on commitment. Hesitating or second-guessing midway can lead to mistakes and increase the risk you do something stupid. Do not even attempt this type of run unless you are supremely confident you can handle it. On the toughest expert level terrain, it's also a major plus to know how to do a jump turn if you're a skier. Jump turns are a skiing technique that involves coming to a near stop, leaping into the air, and rotating your skis to land facing in a new direction, usually 90 to 180 degrees from your starting orientation. Jump turns allow skiers to navigate narrow features such as rocks, drop-ins, or tight couloirs with the highest possible precision. While incredibly physically demanding from a raw strength perspective, jump turns can be more energy efficient than other carving techniques, provided the correct physical fitness, and can allow skiers to maintain a reasonable speed on the most extreme features. Speaking of physical fitness, being in the right shape is crucial to effectively skiing or riding a double black diamond. Now, you don't have to be an Olympic athlete to conquer the mountain, but a baseline level of fitness and physical stamina will do wonders towards making that a reality, even if this conditioning happens well off the ski slopes. If you've prepared effectively during the off-season, you could find yourself a much more accomplished skier or rider the next time you set your foot on the slopes. No matter which resort you go to, double black trails will almost always involve at least somewhat technically challenging terrain that requires both lower body and core strength. So what specific exercises should you do to prepare for these? When it comes to building strength and stability in your turns, key exercises include squats, which will help your base position and the power of your turns, Bulgarian split squats, which will train both legs and make sure they're individually strong enough to handle the slopes, lunges, which will build up your legs individually to help with power production, planks, which will build the stability in your core so your body moves as one unit and makes sharper turns, and step-ups, which are amazing for the upper legs and can prepare you for intense alpine movements that involve both balance and strength, including hiking, mogul endurance runs, and jump turns. If you have access to a gym, you might want to try these exercises as well. The exercises we just discussed focus around lower body and torso strength, which we'd argue are the two most important muscle regions when it comes to skiing and snowboarding. But because many expert level runs are long and draining, especially when snow conditions are particularly heavy or variable, it's just as important to stay in good cardio shape if you don't want to have a bad time. The following types of cardio exercises are huge to get you into the best possible shape for endurance training runs. In fact, any exercise that raises your heartbeat for a sustained period will help aid your physical cognition for the winter season. In addition to strength and cardio training, good coordination, balance, and flexibility are all traits that a skier or rider will greatly benefit from when tackling the hardest ski slopes. Here are a few ways one can improve their balance and coordination: stabilizing on a medicine ball, reaction time drills, or, if you happen to have access to one, walking on a tightrope. Flexibility is essential to reduce the likelihood of injury. One can become less injury prone if they're to stretch regularly, especially before skiing or riding extreme terrain. Special thanks to Sweat440 for letting us use their gym to film some of these shots. Check them out if you're in the New York City area and you're looking for flexibly timed HIIT cardio, cross training, and strength classes. But even if you have the technical skills and physical preparation to tackle expert level terrain, your minds can be the biggest enemy when you are stuck on a challenging slope. The steepness of the run can make you lose your composure and fundamentals. Even if you've gotten the technique down on an easier trail, you might begin to lean back or feel like you can't turn just due to the sheer pressure of the situation. In many cases, these problems can stem from your mindset. With that being said, before even tackling a run like this, the first thing you have to understand is that you are taking a risk. If you are not prepared for that, it is not smart to jeopardize your well-being. Being relaxed and confident in your abilities are crucial to skiing or riding a double black diamond run successfully. If you are fundamentally skilled, you have to feel prepared to take the next step in skiing or riding steep terrain. We highly recommend warming up on easier black or blue runs to get a good feel for your skis or snowboard, and then go for the double black. This is especially key if you are on rental or demo equipment. A crucial way to ensure mental success on expert level terrain: don't go alone. Skiing or riding with someone else or a group of people, or taking a lesson, can help push you past your boundaries. Exploring technical ski runs with people more experienced than you can not only make you feel safer, but you can also learn from them. You can always ask how to pick a line or what the right entry is. If you want to push yourself to the next level in the safest possible way, consider hiring an instructor or guide to go with you rather than going with a cliff-happy friend. Not only will skiing or riding with a professional make you feel more comfortable, but it will also push you to try things you wouldn't do by yourself. But perhaps the most important fundamental for your mental readiness is experience. The best way to get better at something is practice and experiencing something similar firsthand. If you're lucky enough to have multiple days of skiing this year, try to progress throughout the ski season by starting off with blues if you need to, then building up to blacks, and finally double black terrain. This experience can come especially naturally if you achieve your progression on one specific mountain where you are familiar with the trail rating calibrations. The more you practice picking out lines, the better you'll get at doing it, and the better sense you'll have of what each potential downhill path will bring from a technical perspective. But no matter how confident or skilled one is on skis or a snowboard, there's always an inherent risk to the terrain that comes with a double black diamond designation. If you are not in control or somewhat cautious when on these runs, it's possible to get seriously hurt or even face fatal consequences. While they try their best, Ski Patrol can leave many obstacles unmarked. There can be unmarked roots, rocks, ice patches, or cliffs that could cause an accident to occur if you're not careful. One of the most common injuries in winter sports is hitting a tree. When it comes to gladed runs, trees can be packed closely together, making it crucial to choose your line with careful precision. Trees are hard, they're pointy, they hurt, so don't run into them. If it is your first time skiing or riding this type of terrain, do not straight line graded regions and be sure to take them slow. Before you hit the slopes, prepare for the worst and make plans. Since there's always a risk of getting lost or hurt, we recommend you make sure to have the ski patrol's number. It's also not a bad idea to bring water and food, as you don't know how long you're going to be on the run if you get stuck. Your gear is also incredibly important. If you're on skis, you should make sure your bindings match your skill level so you're able to pop out of them before suffering an injury. At certain resorts, you may need avalanche gear to access the toughest terrain. Finally, if you haven't done so recently, you might want to tune your skis or board the night before you hit the double blacks. You'll want to wax your bottoms and sharpen your edges so you have a good grip on the more slippery terrain. In addition to the mental readiness aspect of doing so, skiing or riding with a friend or partner is just as essential from a safety perspective. At many ski resorts, expert-only terrain is found in the most secluded regions of the mountains. If you get lost or hurt, it might be hard to find you. People have fallen in tree wells, crevasses, off cliffs, so to put it lightly, it would be nice to know that someone is with you to help. If something does happen and you are in sight of your partner, there is a greater chance you can be saved if push comes to shove. Finally, if you believe you cannot physically complete the run, do not do it. If you get stuck, you cause problems for people trying to ski the run, ski patrol, and yourself. While ski patrol are trained for rescues in these situations, it is not the easiest job to sled someone down double black diamonds terrain, and it can take a long period of time and be uncomfortable for you. Okay, so expert level terrain involves quite the challenge even on the nicest of ski days. But it's important to note that especially when tackling double black diamonds trails, not all ski days are created equal. Choosing the right day can make or break your expert level terrain experience. Start by checking out snow and trail reports. If the trail report indicates icy or variable conditions, you might want to hold off until a day with more reliable snow cover. The time of day and season can also affect conditions. Firmer snow in the morning will soften under the sun, so you might want to aim for sunlit areas early on. In addition, if it hasn't snowed in a week or two, you might want to hold off on an expert level run as well. Good snow becomes far less reliable as days continue to pass since the last storm. The popularity of the run can drastically change the terrain as well. High traffic trails can become skied off or moguled out by the afternoon, so timing is key. Hitting the run early or after fresh snowfall can make for a much smoother ride. But it's not just the slopes that can make or break your experience the day of. Before heading out, you'll want to make sure to take a moment to check your gear. Make sure your boots, bindings, and skis or board are all in proper working order. If you're unsure about anything, don't hesitate to stop by a shop. It is totally worth spending 20 extra minutes for the peace of mind that your equipment is dialed in and you're as safe as possible while tackling these runs. So while expert level ski trails may seem daunting at a first glance, it turns out that with the right physical preparation, technical skill set, and mental readiness, these trails aren't as out of reach as they might seem. No, working your way up to these types of runs is not going to be easy, but by preparing thoroughly and approaching these types of runs with respect and caution, you can enjoy the challenge and thrill they offer while staying safe. If you found this information helpful, be sure to like and subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss any of our content. And if you're looking for others to ski or ride with this winter, we're coordinating carpool meetups across dozens of North American metropolitan areas. We're hoping to get at least 5 people for each area before spinning up a group chat, so if you're interested, fill out the form in the link below. And special thanks to our Peak patrons. For more information on over 100 ski resorts around the world, check out peakrankings.com. See you for the next one.